All right, family, it's your man VACAY-J back with another video. And yes, let's talk about it. Tyler Perry's Duplicity on Prime Video. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's do it.
VACAY-JAYTV.
All right, fam, back with another video, VACAY-JTV. Now, look, most of you may know, if you watch my channel, you know that I am a Tyler Perry fan, and I love most of his work, you know, like Tyler Perry's Ruthless, like The Oval, a couple of other shows, and a couple of movies. And as of recent, 2024, we're talking about coming off the heels of one of the greatest movies that he has ever done, which is The 688 with Kerry Washington. Now, that was a great film, absolutely historic, has won many awards on many different levels since it has come out. But now it is March 20th or past March 20th, because we have a new movie called Duplicity. And when I saw the name, I said, you know what does this mean? There has to be a meaning behind duplicity. I thought it meant like duplicate or duplicate. But when you look up the meaning of duplicity, you see deceitfulness or double dealing, doubleness, right? Example is he was accused of duplicity and branded a traitor, playing both sides, right? I said, okay, that's pretty clever. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the good. What's good is absolutely the cast is good, right? So we have Kat Graham playing Marley. We got Megan Tandy playing Fila. We have Tyler Lepley playing Tony. Ronrico Lee playing Kevin. Joshua Adeye playing Rodney, and we have Nick Barata playing Sam. And of course, we have a lot of folks star-studded. You know, the cast is good. Definitely a great cast, definitely a great looking cast, right? Shout out to Kat Graham, right? And Megan Tandy. But we're looking at this from the beginning. We're seeing that they're working out together. There's really like 5 main characters to this thing. We have Marley, Fila, Tony, Kevin, and Rodney is the husband to Fila. And Fila, she is a news reporter. And we have Kevin, who's played by Ronrico Lee, and he seems to be hitting on Fila because he has an idea that Fila and her husband, Rodney, are not really getting along. Now, Kevin is a cop, and he seems like he's like a captain of some sort. We see him talking to a whole lot of folks in the department and telling them what to do, telling them what to look out for, right? So he seems to be a person who has made his way up in the ranks, and he calls out this kind of new recruit, and, you know, his name is Collabo. And what happens is he's saying, you know what, you're going to roll with me today. Okay, you're going to roll with me today. And we're going to go to a certain part of the city, right? Really, we're going to go to the suburbs, right? Which is not really too much crime going on over there. So it was kind of weird that this was happening, that this captain would want to roll with this new recruit, this new guy, but it is what it is, right? So we see Rodney taking a run, right? He's jogging, right? And this is what he does every day. He's into fitness. He has fitness programs and fitness centers where he's not really doing that well financially. So he's taking his normal run that he normally does in a suburban area. And what's happening here is that he runs, and then there's a house, and he goes to the side of the house. Now, some lady calls another lady, and it's a white lady, and she says, hey, listen, you know, I'm your neighbor from next door. I live behind you. I see, you know, a black gentleman walking behind, you know, in your yard. I would call 911. So, of course, she sees him, and then she calls 911. And then it's like, okay, here comes the cops. And you know what Kevin told Collabo is that, listen, if you see something that looks like a strap, you yell and then you pop off. So he told him that, like he told him pretty much what to do. So when they found Rodney coming from behind the house, he has his headphones on. He can't really hear. What happens is that he says, you know, freeze, stay right there, right? They see him. He's huge, right? So he's a huge guy. Stand right there, right? Stand right there. You know, freeze, and he can't really hear. So while he's walking, he has his head down so he can't see him. Once he picks his head up, he sees them with straps at them, at him, at Rodney, And then he proceeds to take out what they thought was a strap, but it was really a cell phone with a black case. So once he pulled it out, it looked like, it was a strap. And of course, Kevin is like, gun, and they yell, and then Caleb shoots the guy. All right. White cop shoots a black guy, right? Broad daylight. So now what happens is that we have a situation where now a rookie cop, has now taken out a black man in broad daylight, and they see that it wasn't a gun, it was actually a cell phone. So now we have a serious case on our hands. We have Fila, and she's reporting the news. And the crazy part is that when she reports the news, they get a breaking news story. And what's the breaking news story? She is reading it, and then she reads who the victim is, and it's her husband, Rodney. She is frozen. They have to go take a break. It's like, hey, go to break. They run to the hospital, and it's terrible. Then you have Marley and Tony who run there as well to support her. But the doctor said that Rodney's not going to make it. So what happens is that now, of course, Fila is upset with Kevin because Kevin was there, and this white cop shot her black husband. And now this is making the news. Of course, Marley is a high-powered lawyer. What happened, what we found out is that Marley actually helped out her boyfriend, Tony, because he was fired from the police department, wrongly from what they said. And she was able to get a $300,000 settlement. So now Marley is going to do everything in her power to help out her friend Fila, because Rodney was kind of like Marley's best friend. All right. Hope you're following along. Keep following along. OK. So what happens is Marley goes on this rant, and she is like, listen, I'm going to find out what happened. We're going to get a settlement. We're finding out that Fila doesn't really have a lot of money. And she's like, kind of like, yeah, Ronnie didn't have a lot of money and we barely was making it. So Marley's like, listen, I'm going to get a settlement and you won't have to worry about anything ever again. Okay. So this is a good setup for this movie. We need to find out what happened. Typical kind of story when it comes down to the cops and black men and stuff like that. But now here's where the twist comes along. And this twist is kind of crazy, right? Marley's on this wild goose chase. Marley's trying to find out this information, that information. She's going to the house of the lady that called 911. She's asking, did you see the man? She's like, no, my neighbor from next door, she actually called and told me that there was a gentleman, a black guy behind my yard, and I should call the cops and all this and that. And there's a lot of twists to this thing, family, where we find out that not everything is what it seems, right? So as we go further along in the story, we see that Marley definitely gets a settlement. We see that Caleb, he definitely gets fired, right? We see that the settlement goes through and everything seems to be okay, right? We find out Tony actually knew more than what he was letting on to. And Marley, of course, she picked up on that. She has trust issues, as I mentioned in the beginning. But because she has trust issues and Tony didn't tell her the truth up front, he withheld information. Now he has to sleep on the couch. And she is having to work this case. And like I said, she got the settlement and got Fila $15 million, right? So now it's 4 months later and Fila is nowhere to be found, right? Marley tried to reach out to Fila. Fila's gone. She moved away, right? She's like, I just want privacy right now. She made a speech. I just want privacy. And she moved away. We don't know where she moved to, right? And things are kind of fishy. Things are getting kind of fishy. So we find that Caleb, right, the cop that was fired, we find out that he actually is running around trying to apologize. Right? He was trying to apologize to Marley, who's the lawyer. Tony had to come out with his strap and say, hey, man, get up out of here. Right. And then we see him roaming around town in a black hoodie. And then Marley's going to a car. Right. And what happens is Caleb has this van. And they kidnap Marley in this van, put a bag over her head. She's screaming and yelling, takes the bag off, and it's Caleb and two ladies. Two ladies are driving. And then what happens is the craziest twist. He's saying that he feels like he was set up, right? Because it's weird that the captain would roll along with him in this neighborhood. You know, it's weird that the captain would tell me, you know, if I see a strap, just pop off, right? A lot of weird cases. And now they're trying to destroy his life and keep him quiet from talking and figuring some things out. So now Kevin is under suspicion. We're suspecting that Kevin somehow may be involved with this. Gonna find out that white cop has a black wife, right? And she's asking for help. They're all asking for help. They froze their assets. They don't have a lot of money. You know, they're trying to destroy their life, and they wanted Marley to help them, but she's like, listen, you kidnapped me, right? So really, you asking for help right now? Nah, you out of your mind. So she gave Marley a number and said, please, we just need help, right? Marley thinks about it. They drop off back at the car. Now, this is where the twists start happening, man, because, you know, Tony starts acting a little weird. You know, he's been on the couch for like 4 months because she can't trust him, and she has trust issues. And something happened with, you know, Kevin. Like, nobody can really find Kevin. Kevin is around, but, you know, it's really, really weird what's going on as far as their dynamic, as far as friendship goes, right? You know, Rodney was taken out. He's gone. But Marley and Tony, you know, their relationship is on the rocks, okay? Make a long story short, family, Marley gets wind of this information. She gets Fila's, you know, broadcast friends who have connections involved, because they have, you know, some roots and some connections to find out certain information, to look up certain information on the internet, to pull up some things. And there was an address that was found. So Marley goes to this address, and this is a big white mansion, right? Big white mansion. It's like, yo, what's going on? All of a sudden, Tony comes out of nowhere, grabs her up. She's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, oh, you know, I was like in the neighborhood. Like, it was way out and somewhere where Tony shouldn't be. It was weird to see him out there, like he was following her or whatever the case is, right? He's like, yeah, so let's get out of here. Like, he's trying to get her out of there. But here comes Kevin in like a Porsche, a Maserati. Like, this dude is balling. He's like, yeah, you know, oh, what you doing around here? He's like, what are you doing around here? Yeah, this is my house right here. Let's go inside. I was like, oh, Marley, you should have got the hint right there. Get up out of there, for real. Like, this is weird. Why is this Captain Cop driving this Maserati and he has a mansion all the way out here in West Bubba, right? So I don't know why she went inside, but the reason why she went inside is because she had to get to the bathroom, because one of the young ladies who was dating Kevin found out that Kevin really is a menace. This guy is a beast. Like, he's nice on the outside, mean on the inside. So she recorded a lot of different conversations, and she recorded conversations of him actually trying to set this whole thing up, right? And she had it on a phone, taped it underneath some type of drawer in the bathroom. Marley had to go in there and get that as evidence to put against Kevin, okay? Keep following along, all right? So they go inside, right? And of course, Marley's kind of like, this is kind of weird. This is kind of weird. They go inside and Marley's like, hey, listen, can I use the bathroom, right? When they walk in there, this place is huge, first off. This place is huge. It's like humongous. It's like this big mansion. It's like, yo, you got this place off of a cop's salary? He's like, yeah, you know, we've been doing our thing. Again, he's been on the force for a long time, but still, this is like over the moon type of, you know, money here. So Marley's like, listen, can I use the bathroom? So she goes to the bathroom, because that's where the girl said the phone was. She goes in there, she looks under the drawers, right? And she finds the phone. Now, the bad thing is this, like, you find the phone, but then you start watching the footage that's on the phone. It's like, okay, I know you want to make sure it's on there. If the girl said it's there, it's there. You found the phone. It's exactly in the place that she said it would be. So yes, that's it. Just take it. You decided to press play, playing it all loud in the bathroom. There's an echo in that huge bathroom. You think Kevin can't hear you from the outside? Of course, right? So she's watching the footage on the phone, and Kevin's knocking on the door, and Tony's knocking. He's like, yo, you okay? You okay? Yeah, I'm all right. I'll be right out. So she takes the phone, put it in like in a back pocket or whatever. And then she goes outside, and they're like, yeah, you know, we was talking about going on a boat, and it's late, family. It's like super late. Like, what is going on? You want to go on a boat late night? And And Tony and Kevin are just kicking it with drinks and the whole nine. They're like, whatever, right? And Marley's like, nah, you know, I think I'm gonna go right now. I'm gonna go home. It's real late. I don't want to go on a boat. Hey, Tony, you can go, right? So she goes to the door and the door is locked. And Kevin is like, come on over, Marley. Come here. You know, let's have a drink. Come here. Tony's sitting there too. She's like, listen, Tony, I'm ready to go home. So come and unlock this door. And Kevin is like, Marley. And he has her keys and the whole nine to her car. And it's like, this is where the crazy twist happened. I was like, okay. Gonna find out, make a long story short, Tony and Kevin are in cahoots with each other. This was the plan from the beginning, okay? They pretty much, bottom line, planned this whole thing out to get rid of Rodney, right? And to get Marley on this case because they knew that Marley would get them a settlement for the unalivement of Rodney. And instead of getting just $300,000, she got $15 million for Fila. So now here's the crazy part, right? They chase after Marley. Marley tries to get away. You know, they open up this bag and knock her out with some stuff that's in this plastic bag, right? She's knocked out. Next thing you know, now we're on a boat. We're on a boat. We see Kevin driving. We see Tony on the side of him. And then we see your girl, Fila. And she is evil and nasty as hell. And she's feeling on Kevin. Like she acted like she didn't like Kevin. Man, they had a whole plan from the beginning to get Marley on the case so Fila can get the money. And now Fila can be with Kevin and Tony's down. They probably split that 15 million, right? And they just use Marley to get that money from the state. Man, crazy twist, right? So Marley wakes up because what they plan on doing is, of course, they plan on tossing her over the side of the boat, putting some weight on her and having her drown at the bottom of the lake. Okay. So that's the plan. But they're going off and they're driving and they're talking a hell of a lot. Marley wakes up. They're like, oh, she's awake. And she's like, Fila? She's like, yeah, see, I knew you was going to do it. We all knew you was going to do it. We knew that because Rodney was your best friend, right? We knew that you would fight for him and get me the 15 million. On top of that, Tony, Marley's boyfriend, he never really liked the relationship that Marley had with Rodney, right? Because they were very close, like brother and sister, right? He never liked that relationship. So they set this whole thing up. Fila wanted to get rid of her husband, get the $15 million settlement, probably got some life insurance involved as well. And that's how they got that mansion and that boat, okay? And now they're trying to get rid of Marley. So, boom. What happens is, it was like, let me put some weight on her. He's gonna put some weight on her, you know, around her stomach. So it'll weigh her down. And then he was going to tie like an anchor on her to take her all the way down to the bottom of the lake. Now, while they're trying to do that, here comes the lake cops, right? He rolls over. He's like, hey, man, it's kind of late out here. You know what's going on? You know, it's past like the curfew. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even know there was a curfew. This is, you know, Kevin talking. I'm sorry, officer. You know, he's like, yeah, I just need your paperwork. So he pulls out the paperwork, like, here you go, right? Marley's waking up. It's like, oh, what happened to your friend? Oh, you know, she's a little sick, seasick. He says, see, that's another reason why you shouldn't even be out here, right? So she wakes up and he's like, hey, are you okay? And Fila's like, yeah, she's fine. He's like, I was talking to her, right? He's like, you putting weights on her? What's going on? And then here comes Kevin. Pow! Pops the cop. He goes into the lake, right? Goes over the side of his boat, goes into the lake. And then they're like, okay, cool. You know, let's do what we need to do now. Now, what happens is this. They finally get this weight onto Marley, put the anchor on her, and then finally throw her over off the boat. She goes down to the bottom. Okay? She's waking up now at this point, you know, with all that water. She's holding her breath, waking up, and she's struggling to get out of this bondage that they have on her and some weights or whatever. And then turn around, this cop that they popped, he fell in the ocean, but he had like an automatic life jacket. So now he popped up. He's like, listen, we can't leave, man. We can't leave the cop out here because now he's floating. He needs to go to the bottom too. So now they're trying to figure out a way to get this cop right? And to deflate the air from the, life jacket and get him to sink to the bottom as well. And pretty much get rid of, the cop boat, the boat that the cop had, right? So they're trying to clean things up. They're bumbling and fumbling and this and that, taking their extra time, trying to figure things out. Kevin jumps in to go get the guy. Then he floats to the front. They just do not know what they're doing. They're kind of panicking because they're trying to get up out of there because they just pretty much thinking that they unalive Marley by sending her to the bottom of the lake, right? But now we go down to the lake. Now, this was the part that I was kind of like, this is not really, realistic. But again, we're in the fantasy world. This is all a movie, right? It's all a movie. That's what it is, okay? Some things are going to be real. Some things are going to be like, okay. But this is the bad part that I was kind of like, I'm not really feeling it. So we see Marley at the bottom. She's struggling to get this tie off of her and all this and that, get this anchor off of her. She finally gets the anchor off of her legs, and then she gets the weight off of her women. At this, it has to be at least 5 minutes she's been under this. She can hold her breath for a very long time. Again, part of the bad. Like, come on, she had to be under there for at least 5 minutes. Okay, like, come on. Like, was she like a state champion for swimming, for being underwater? Like, how is it that she hasn't drowned at this point? I was kind of like, come on, man. Nah, this is, wasn't really buying it. So now what happened is Kevin went in the water to unplug the cop boat and it turned over, right? Belly up. Now, because it went belly up, Marley swims over, just so happens to not swim all the way up, right? Because then they see her. No, she swims over to the cop boat that's turned belly up. And in between, the bottom of the boat and the water, there's a little bit of space underneath that boat. She swims underneath and catches her breath. Come on, man. I wasn't really buying it. I was not really buying it. How did she know to do that? If it was me and they tied me up and I was all, inebriated or whatever, I would swim the other way and then pop up to then get some air, right? Again, remember, she was under there for a long time, but she goes to the boat because it's the closest thing. I get it. It was the closest thing to her. So she catches her breath to get some air, right? These guys are fumbling and jumbling, they finally get the guy and he's floating and he's unalive. He's floating. And what happens is, man, this is the funny part, right? What happens is they try to pull him up and try to deflate the airbags. While that's going on, all we hear is, right? Because in that bag that had the weights in it that they were going to put on Marley, there was a flare gun. And who do we see at the end of the boat with a flare gun? And she shot Kevin and he fell off into the water. Of course, Marley. She has the flare gun and she is popping this person. And then she's popping Fila. And then, here comes Tony, her boyfriend. Come on, babe. I love you, baby. Come on. And she's reloading or whatever. He's trying to get close enough so he can try to grab her. And of course, she's like, I don't love you, man. Pow. Okay. Hits him with the flare gun as well. And he flips over into the water. And then she slowly puts another round in and she slowly picks up the flare gun and she shoots it up for a rescue. Now the same, news people, reporter and whatever, now they're interviewing Marley and she's the hero here. And it was just like, okay, she's the hero. And yes, these guys are being brought to justice and everybody knows the truth now. Whether they are alive or not, they didn't state that Tony or Kevin or Fila were alive after, getting popped with a flare gun. I'm thinking that they're not, or maybe they're severely injured or whatever the case is. But to make a long story short, that was the ending of it. And to be honest, there was a little speech that Marley did. She did a speech about, people using efforts and using fights and using, political ways in which to gain, money and gain certain things. And that's kind of what was done, trying to use the whole narrative that the white cop shot the black guy. But this time around, they flipped it and she was caught up in the middle to fight for justice. but ended up getting used for the $15 million, right? So let's talk about it, family. Let's talk about the rating of this movie. Out of 10, 1 out of 10, I would actually give this a 6. It was definitely well shot, and the actors were pretty good. You know, Kay Graham, she's really good as far as acting as well. And, you know, they had a good cast, good supporting cast. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Again, a lot of unbelievable parts. A lot of parts were like, oh, this was expected. You know, yeah, this is kind of like we anticipated it. This was going to happen this way. The ending, as far as taking out the antagonist, taking out, you know, Tony, Kevin, and Fila, was kind of underwhelming, I should say. It was kind of underwhelming. I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting a little bit more as finding out whether they are alive or not. And if she shot them with the flare, most likely they're not alive, but still I would have wanted them to just be severely injured and to see them actually go to jail, get locked up, you know, actually be brought in instead of us being told that they were brought in, or, you know, us just assuming that from the flare gun, like they're totally unalive, right? So I needed that closure and I didn't get that closure. That's why I had to deduct some points. The ending again was kind of like, okay, here she comes to save the day, to prove that these guys were crooked and they were acting like friends, and they were, you know, it was duplicity, deceitful. They were very deceitful, right? In many different ways in order to get this money, in order to get this settlement. You know, her boyfriend definitely was withholding information because he was part of the whole scam to take out Rodney, to get the settlement for Fila, and for them to, you know, spread that $15 million and live the life of luxury, right? At Marley's expense. So it was well put together. Could this have been a series? I don't think so. I don't think a series was necessary for this one right here. I do give it a 6. You know, I give it like an 8 as far as cinematography goes. It was, like I said, it was very well shot. You know, when it comes down to, you know, Tyler Perry and the budgets that he's working with, whether, you know, the studio, talking about Prime Video, whether they put up the money or Tyler Perry Studios puts up the money, you know, they're going to shoot on his property anyway. So he's going to get, you know, the best out of the deal either way. But, you know, I really love, you know, his Beauty in Black and the way that shot. Definitely a whole different type of scenario with that particular series in comparison to this movie. But all in all, it was a okay film for me. It was okay. That's why I give it a 6. There was parts that I liked, part that I didn't like, and I explained all that already. But family, let me know your thoughts on this. Tyler Perry's Duplicity. Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think it was okay? Where could they have improved on certain things as far as the plot, as far as the conclusion, as far as, you know, the whole twist within itself? You know, these folks are definitely crazy. And Tyler Perry did mention that in the interview. You know, these folks who are playing like they're friends and playing like they're boyfriends and playing like they're down for the cause, but they're really not. They're just really out for the money. So family, let me know your thoughts and your views on this. It's your man VACAY-J. We'll see you next time in the next movie review. And until next time, salute.